Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Hey friends, I am Neethi the Pharmacist, here with my co-hosts Janae Williams and Valerie Cruz, and we are on full. Welcome to Our View.
Hi, everyone.
Hey everybody, how are you?
Hey friends. Today we are happy to have Sherif Fouad with us, a gentleman bearing the name Juice Pusher. We'll find out more about that in a moment. Sherif Fouad, founder of Raleigh, a juice bar and cafe which empowers our community to eat, to thrive. Sherif was a nutritional health coach by day and a mixologist by night at some of the finest lounges in New York City, DC, and most recently in Raleigh. Over the years, cancer, diabetes, obesity, and Alzheimer's had struck Sherif's closest family members. So this prompted him with a desire to gain an accurate understanding of his family's and Western culture's propensity towards degenerative diseases. So he spent over 8 years immersed in comprehensive and non-biased medical findings and case studies as they related to the human body and genetics. The more he understood about the positive health effect of natural, organic, and raw foods, the more he wanted to teach and help others, and the more conflicted and unfulfilled he felt in the cocktail-slinging world of nightlife. Hence, Raleigh Raw was born out of a combination of two things: a strong desire to make the world healthy and happy, and an underlying love and appreciation for a well-built yet balanced cocktail.
Awesome.
Welcome, Sherif.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We just finished having one of your cocktails.
Yes, we
All
did.
of us had
That's
our
right.
juice just now, and we were starving for it, right? Like
Yes.
we're doing batch recordings. We've been recording all day, and it's so much fun. And I want to dive into this. I've known you for over 5 years, or
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel
yeah.
like it's longer than that. I'm really not sure anymore.
5 years.
And I still remember our very first meeting. We were sharing our stories, and I was struggling a little bit about where to start. But one thing I think that's passionate to both you and I that I think is important for the listeners to hear is, they hear about juices, and all anybody ever really knows about that is that they can do like a juice fast or a juice cleanse or a detox or a detox or a detox. And I can't stand that. Like for me, I tell everybody, like our juice that we have is our multivitamin. And so, people are like, you should take a men's or women's multivitamin. And, I'm so anti man-made supplements because they're just enzymatically dead. They're, I don't actually know how I'm supposed to know what I should have as a multivitamin, but I know that juice has, powerful medicine. I mean, just the chlorophyll in and of itself alone in that bottle has more magnesium that my body can actually receive and process and absorb and use. It has more useful information coming into each cell than any pill I would ever take. So what are your thoughts about, the detox versus, I think people are detoxing to retox, and they're not detoxing to jumpstart a better life.
Yeah, the world wants a magic bullet cure that will give them permission to go on with their existing lifestyle. And so, like you said, you can just give me a cleanse, so that means I can go party at the beach all weekend and know that I'll come back on Monday and just do a cleanse, and then my body's going to reset. No, you're going to shock your body at the beach, and then you're going to shock your body in a different way when you get back. And so for that reason, I mean, this whole thing is about it's about balance, and just like in life, like everything is an incremental step in one direction, not a massive step to the left and then an overcompensate by another step to the right. And
Right.
so it's like, and when you don't approach it that way, and you approach everything like I'm gonna offset my indulgent behavior with an equal but opposite other type of indulgent behavior, then everything is just juice starts to get looked at as a trend, which is exactly what I was afraid was going to happen, and that's what happened now. And like, people come in and they're like, "Hey, I just want to cleanse," and I'm like, "Why?" You know, the first question is why. You
They're
know, and I
like,
love.
dude, you started a juice company. What do you mean, man? You
Yeah,
know, and
and it looks like, and it is a little confusing. You're right, because they're like, why is this guy not trying to sell me a cleanse?
I love
And
you, Sharif, because you just are like me, right? We're the only people, I think. I think anybody who's on this regenerative path can attest to being this way, but like they don't want to maybe be as bold as we are. But like, I tell everybody all the time, I'm like, you're not ready for this.
yeah,
You don't want this.
It's so good
yeah,
that you're
not
saying
like,
that because, like, it's the roller coaster. I mean, I told my story, and it was hard for some to understand because when you don't know you're on a roller coaster, you just don't know. You know that it's unstable, but so
yeah,
you just think that way, So it's like
that's
one
true.
extreme and then another extreme, and then that's
That's
how
true.
you live in your life, and you're sustaining yourself by extremes, and that's
Yeah,
a lot of consequences to
And
it.
and
and
then her extreme path rolled into this next generation of what you just addressed of all
yeah,
these hackers. They want to
yeah,
they want a biohack to do
yeah,
this, and they're using the juice for that. And I mean, I
yeah,
can't stand it. The reason you and I get along, and the reason that I love supporting Raleigh Raw and I promote it so heavily, is because we're trying to get everybody to stop hacking and
yeah,
start living.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
fascinated. What do you when you ask why? What do they say?
That's a difficult question to answer for many people because they just want to know what the answer is. And they don't
Right.
like that I charge them with the responsibility of bringing the answer out from themselves. Like, they just want to come to me and just get a solution. And I don't want to hook you for a one-time visit because I know if I put you on a cleanse, you're all I'm going to do is make you hate juice the
Right.
way that a first timer at the gym made to bench press 400 pounds who's never been to the gym is going to hate going back, right? And like you
Yeah.
have to
Exactly.
acquaint yourself slowly, and I'd rather you be a customer for the long haul and just approach your health in that way. I mean, three of my favorite juice bars that inspired me to launch Raleigh Raw one went out of business last week, and the
Oh
other
no.
two went out
Wow.
of business in the last 6 months, and is because they were riding this trend.
Oh
And
Right.
no.
This
and so
education, Sharif, that you're offering, that I offer, that we love about sharing and doing together, is something that everyone else finds, impossible to do,
mhm,
unnecessary,
mhm,
inefficient,
yeah,
And I don't know. I'm so proud of you guys for doing it and for
well,
for pushing it this far, because who'd have known that you guys would still not only are you in business still, but you're comfortable now. I mean, for Les
yeah,
to be
thank
on
you.
the air and say we're comfortable now, and
Yeah,
you've only been in the brick and mortar. Has it been 2 years now?
two
Oh,
years, yeah,
wow.
2 years and 1 week.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the reason I can approach it this way is because, you mentioned the roller coaster. That was my life.
Yeah.
And I I admitted early on that it was my family that really got me to see where I could end up in the next 60 or 50 years if I don't if we don't change the way we eat. But what I haven't always said, which I've been more public about in the past year, is that I had my own consumption habits. It wasn't food, but it was really more of like just partying, drinks and all that stuff. And and then I thought that I could just offset it with its opposite. So when I speak like that, it's not from a place of judgment. It's a place of empathy. I totally
Hmm.
get what you're going through, and
Yeah.
I can tell you firsthand that it's not sustainable.
But that's where you find your passion, which is great. And I, for one, will say that, you can talk to 80 people and they get upset about it, and you know that you just didn't just give them some juice, but then you got that one person that's ready. Because
Yeah.
I certainly, you know, when my roller coaster was absolutely with food, but no one was saying anything to me. And it's good to have someone with the message to
Yeah.
just be real and say, hey, you know, you need to get off this thing.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
mean,
I think, good.
no, go.
I think one skill that I have beyond what I do in the kitchen is just a general ability to demystify something that's so challenging like health and wellness, and then I can package it in a way that's really approachable and it's fun and it's exciting and it's sexy, and that's kind of what
That's what
that
we were
shop
just
is
talking
made
about.
to be. And so I know how to, as a DJ or a bartender, like these are skills where you cultivate the ability, in a club promoter, you cultivate the ability to package a vibe and an experience.
Hmm.
And so if I can do that, but my product that I'm pushing is health and wellness rather than booze, then you can strike a chord with people. And so what I did was I dissected what makes the American pub work, because the American pub is really where everybody meets to socialize and come together. And what makes it not work? And what makes it work is this long bar that everyone can sit together at, and they can get greeted by a bartender who can educate them on what they might be drinking, and then a bunch of communal tables. What cafes don't have is this long bar,
Hmm.
right? And so people don't go to cafes to meet and to educate themselves. They go to the bar for that. They go to cafes just to get a quick shot of energy, and then they leave. You go to Starbucks and the experience is so transactional. You go to a fast casual restaurant like Chipotle, and the experience is just, you know, they usher you in, you get your food, you go to the right, you pay, and then you're out the door.
Cattle
And
call.
so, if we can create an experience that resembles the American pub, but in terms of making you feel at home and having music, and then having bartenders that can explain kind of the advantages you mentioned, chlorophyll and what's in wheatgrass and all this other stuff, then we've really we've taken the awesome components out of everything, and created a cafe that's very unique.
Can you
Yes.
give kind of a overview in the juice perspective of what you've learned and how the making the juice has made
Mhm.
people thrive?
Yeah, I Nitty nailed it in the beginning when she said that might multivitamin, like, yeah, maybe there is an X percent of vitamin whatever in this multivitamin, but how much of that is actually bioavailable to the body? Like, if it's not raw and unprocessed and getting extracted in that moment and consumed without heat and air and all these things introduced into the process, then you're just making somebody else a lot of money, and your body doesn't know even what it's processing. It's just another drug that your liver is engaging to process,
So
right? And so,
nutraceuticals, like people don't even know that term. And I'm
yeah,
like, you can't go from pharmaceutical to nutraceutical and act like you've just solved the world's problems regarding your health. And
yeah,
that's, interestingly, I mean, we're challenging everybody to just go regenerative. It is a little bit more inconvenient. I mean, let's talk about your challenges. I mean, as somebody who one thing I tell everybody is that, as a restaurant owner, it's very difficult for you to serve people regenerative, and the most consciously produced foods to like my standard is Neethi the pharmacist, right?
yeah,
Because you are, still bound by code. And you still have to
yeah,
meet like health inspections and these things. And what I love, and I'm so excited all the time that you guys are pushing the envelope as much as you can within the laws. And which is the reason why you chose, I think, to stick to the juice side of it and have very minimal proteins, because you aren't like able to work with me and my farmers, for example, to
yeah.
provide people with the stuff. It's not even just a cost issue as much as it is, the fact that it's
Accessibility.
alive and it's not graded and it's not
Yeah,
dead by the time you get it. It's not completely blank and empty.
yeah.
Right? Can you speak
Yeah.
on the challenges you face? Because
Y-
I know
yeah.
you're conscious of these things.
Yeah, the right now we're working on teaming up with a company that will allow for us to utilize living walls in hydroponic farming, so we can have our own stuff being grown here and in control of our own produce. Now, the fish is another challenge for us, and that's kind of what I'm working on right now. And this is all behind the scenes stuff. Like what I do is when no one's, in private, what we do is try to make sure that we're increasing every month the quality of our food. But in public, we're just trying to make it fun. Because if I make it really educational, I lose people. So to me, I have like this Trojan horse mentality where I package it as what they want. I give them what they need, packaged as what they want. But like behind the scenes, I'm doing the real the honest work, But I don't want it. I don't explain it to them, and maybe I should a little bit more. But I feel that I'll lose the masses if I explain the details. So I
Well,
just
that's interesting. Can you then, because I feel in this show, I struggle because I find it difficult to reach people who aren't ready to be reached. And
yeah.
so how do you do that in the way that you say is fun and
Yeah.
still educational?
He's
That's
you're a marketing genius. I mean, have you not seen, like, he's brilliant with this.
I just
And
make it all really fun, and
yeah.
so I take it away. I take it away from that, and that way it's just because you say it's difficult. I try to not think of it that way. I try to think of it as like I'm just create a routine. We're doing a little bit of this on a daily basis, and then it becomes your lifestyle, right? The way you go to yoga and the way that you go to the gym. You just do a little bit of this every day, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, Raleigh Raw." They're having fun about how it's like their addiction, right? And like healthy highs, right? I love when people talk about healthy highs because I used to be all about highs, and like and like now it's like I like
you
coming in
took
and
your
getting
New
that
York
shit.
City DJ
Yeah,
Sharif self from the
yeah,
bar and put it in this moment, and
yeah.
that's what's brilliant is
Yeah.
But in this,
you're in the moment, and you just took that piece of it and you never lost that, which is the problem, which is the cool thing. Like for me it was a problem because I had to go through tragedy, right? We lost a child and
yeah,
all this stuff. And
yeah,
so at that, I mean, I was just like dead. Okay. And then I meet Sharif, and and he's just brings this life even through the struggle. Like your struggle is real too. It's not like you didn't have the struggle, but I
yeah,
think it's a little bit, the tragedy wasn't as extreme as mine.
yeah. Of
And
course.
so you were able
Yeah,
to bring the club, and
yeah,
it's brilliant. I mean, it's we were just talking, we had Leslie and on the show, and when she was on the show, one of the questions was about this regenerative marketplace that you're targeting is less than a quarter of the 1%. And
yeah,
but when you look at Raleigh Raw, you guys are stepping out every single time. Like, this is the rage. Where are you? What are you talking about? Like, we are
yeah,
it. I am
yeah,
it. And that
yeah.
is so fun. I mean, that joy that you bring is, they're crazy if they don't come in and just sit at the bar for a minute.
Yeah,
They
but
all
like
have to come.
but using your bartender mentality, there's only a small percentage of people that want to know that a well-built cocktail is going to require like a half-ounce sweetener, 1 ounce
Yeah.
sour,
Right.
uh,
Some red
one
color.
one tablespoon bitter,
That's a
right?
good
Like a
point,
lot of people don't care.
actually.
They're just like, give me the drink,
You're
right? Give
right.
No,
me,
Does
but
it
as
taste good, and
bartenders,
will
we
it make
know
me
people
high?
used to come.
yeah,
Sorry, people used to come to. I tend to bar too, and it's just funny. They would be like, "Do you know how to make blah blah blah?" And you would say, "Is it red or blue? Is it pink or
yeah,
green?" And they
yeah.
don't care
No, you
about.
just get it to them over the counter, and like now, of course, like I said, on my end though, I do take that kind of intention, but I'm conscious that the masses don't need to be told about every last detail
Yeah,
because I will lose them when I begin that process. Now, when asked, of course, we will do that. We're here for you. That's why it's built in a way that you can approach us. So the first two things that our staff is trained to ask is one, have you been here before? So we can gauge that customer's level of familiarity with either health and wellness or our shop specifically? And then secondly, what brings you in? Because some people are coming in for energy, and some people are like you're named the pharmacist. I tell my staff, treat this like you're a pharmacist. Like
Yes.
you're about to prescribe them something in your arsenal on this menu, and don't be talking to them about coffee if they're dealing with something over here, and you're only going to understand what that is if you're asking some open-ended questions in the beginning. It would be really cool if you went into a cafe or a fast casual restaurant and they met you with some open-ended questions before you even ordered. I've never had that experience before, and I thought, like, man, how nice would it be if they really tried to get to know me, and then they introduced me by name to the cashier, and now a relationship has been built.
Awesome. That
That's
is
great.
a very good perspective.
Brilliant.
Yes.
But the authenticity is what this, the society in this moment is missing, which I think is why it's received in the way that it is. And
Yeah.
you're bringing that old school hip hop piece, which,
Who
how can
doesn't
you
love
ever, who
that?
doesn't love that? I mean, everybody loves that. And
I mean, it's just like it's what I like, and so hopefully people will get into that. But I think that we need to give a lot of credit to the general public, because I was very frustrated with the general public when I first founded the company 5 years ago, because down here I felt like nobody was getting it. And I see a shift starting to finally happen. I don't know if we can accredit it to like our business and you being as vocal as you are. Maybe it's Netflix and having all these documentaries starting to come out that are expanding consciousness. I don't know, but I think that something is starting to happen. Maybe Instagram is making it cool to take pictures of food that actually fuels you, versus like, who wants to see a big picture of like some sloppy chicken and gravy? So
I think it's because people are getting sick, Sharif. So I think that people are getting sick, and everybody knows something's wrong, and everybody is trying to figure out what the solution is supposed to be, and everyone is, I mean, it's not a secret anymore, and that's the thing. It used to be where when we would start, or I would start talking to people, there was this massive assault. I feel like they're a little bit more prepared for that sometimes now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was wondering also, like, is it because my podcast is out? Is it because of something else? But at the end of the day, we're still less than a quarter of the 1%. And so, I mean, our work is still, we still have a lot of work. I mean, you're definitely a trailblazer, definitely a hero, definitely, ahead and, and have already, you're not waiting to rise. You've already risen to the task of being able to start working to save people's lives. It's so important. And even if you're doing it as a Trojan horse, I mean, kudos, man, because somebody's got to get up and do it and not be waiting for that. So let me ask you this then. So what are you doing intentionally to support regenerative soils? Because I know this matters to you, and like in your business day to day, and then how are you struggling with that part of it?
Yeah, that is a big struggle for us. So what we're doing to support is, one, when we juice, we are rendering a ton of organic compost that we now donate to farms directly until they just had enough, because we have so much every day. And when they have their fill, like there's our microgreen supplier, we donate our organic compost, and she created a whole apple orchard with our compost. But when she was at her fill, we found other farms, and when they were at their fill, we just began paying a company called Compost Now, which takes it, and then they divert our pre-consumer and post-consumer compost. I think we're at like 60,000 pounds of stuff that's been diverted from landfills just going through them. That's one way that we're contributing, is we're, instead of just throwing everything away in the trash, we're actually paying for a compost program. Secondly, we've had challenges. We actually located a farm that we were, it was 90, almost 100 acres in Chapel Hill, and we began buying the organic seed and the greenhouses. And when we were in the purchasing process, we had a 20-year lease on the land. This was a year ago, and we had beehives and everything set up. We were working with a farmer. We tested the soil, and it came back positive for arsenic because it was a tobacco farm in the 70s. So unfortunately, we had to scrap all of that, and finding clean soil, organic produce has been a huge challenge for us. And now we're on the next initiative, working with a guy named Isaac to do this hydroponic farming system that he's building warehouses here in Raleigh on Capitol Boulevard, where we can just get a quadrant inside that warehouse and we give him our menu of all the produce we want grown, and he has it all grown in an indoor system.
So that's what we're doing, is helping people. That soil problem that you had I known about it, I can help you remediate that. So we are helping folks remediate that soil problem, and you can do it, but you need livestock, which is what we've been talking about on this show. You can't have seeds and you can't have plants without livestock, period. Impossible. And you can't regenerate soil without livestock. And, you know, I mean, I can talk with you more about it later, but also you should check out Alan Savory's work, where he's, you know, been a proponent for this for over 50 years. And, you know, he's in the end of his life cycle, and all he's doing is begging people to join the Savory Institute and participate, which, by the way, I'm like creating a hub for here in Raleigh, and I'm sitting as one of their Savory champions, and I'd love to talk to you about helping you with that.
I'd love that.
So I know that you and I are moving 100 miles an hour, and have, you know, every once in a while we'll bump back into each other. And, you know, so we have projects we need to work on with that. But there are solutions for that. And it doesn't need to take 50 years. That's the good news. And we want to help you support that. And then, interestingly, our microgreen girls are supplying you with the microgreens. And she also needs to be able to grow as many plants to full grown to be able to produce more seeds for her to be regenerative. Otherwise, her operation is actually not regenerative at all. But we need the microgreens because
Tammy?
Yes. So we need the microgreens because microgreens are also like your juices. You know, those are our supplements, and they're more powerful than eating the full vegetable, just like the juices. Okay. Yeah. However, she's unsustainable with no seeds, and she goes through 10 times more seeds. Every seed doesn't sprout, right? Because there's a lot of duds. And so, see, here is a moment for us to create this collaboration. Again, another powerful, you know, minute where, you know, we're promoting that for regenerative lifestyles to actually flourish, you have to create these collaborations. And in business today, you know, they're not pushing collaboration or any of these consciousnesses that you're pushing or I'm pushing, because it's all about efficiency only. And it's to know the reason that you're able to be successful is because you are regenerative. And, you know, in our conversation with Leslie, I was asking her if she was feeling the effects of the collapse of the centralized food system. And she's like, no, I'm really not. And that's because what you're doing is conscious. And if you weren't doing that, then you would be experiencing the same struggles that even Whole Foods and some of these other, you know, big names were experiencing, because they're affected by the collapse and you're not, which is what we're trying to teach people here on the show. So, you know, how did this conscious consumption become so important to you in the first place? I mean, you were like that before I met you. You were very open to hear, you know, what I had
so
to
me, I was living for the weekends, and so conscious consumption for me was like just trying to like just not be putting alcohol and poison in my body. And then also I started to realize that consumption meant more than what I'm putting in my body physically. It meant what I'm scrolling through on social media, because that was around the time when Facebook and Instagram were just getting going, and I was just, you don't realize how slowly it sucks you in, especially if you're a producer of social media. You have to get on in order to create content, and then you catch yourself absorbing content. and then there's an energy exchange there,
Yeah.
you know, and it's so subtle, and you're just like, man, you put down your phone, it's been an hour, and you're like, why am I so drained right now?
Yeah.
I've been putting so much into, like, I don't even remember, right? And then,
Somebody's comment. You're like going,
Yeah.
oh.
and so conscious consumption, that's like if I were to just black out and eat chocolate cake for an hour and then like not, right? Like we're doing that on like a psychological level. So like,
Shots.
yeah. And so so conscious consumption meant that, you know, meant what I'm eating, drinking, what I'm scrolling through. Then it was like, okay, let's keep this thing going and see what else I'm consuming that I'm not conscious of. And so you start looking at your friend circle and, you know, what are their habits? And like how, if you want your habits to be over here and their habits are over here, well, then you're going to need to separate your flight path from their flight path if you want to arrive at a different destination, you know? So then that's a different set of consumption that I had to become aware of. And paradoxically, the people that I split from respect me more now. I thought that they were going to resent me for that split, but now they look to me like, hey, like I like where you're at. How can I get there? And now that relationship to me seems healthier than like having to hang around someone so that they like you or they think you're cool, you know? And so
My
all
kids
of
think
these
you're
things-
cool, Sharif. My kids want to be like you, and they tell everybody that they know you because they're cooler because they know you. So.
I wish I got it when I look at them and I'm just like, man, how far would I be if I knew what they know when I was that age, you know?
That's because of you. See, it's because of you that they can be like that. So
It's because of you, but thank you. Yeah, so conscious consumption became all of these things. And so when you come in the shop, I really want to hit you with all of that. Like, hey, you're trying to write a book. Hey, you got to meet Chris. He's a local writer. And then I put these two in touch. So then like the friend circle is starting to shift. And then like the music, what you're consuming, there's no TVs in the store. Like that's all deliberate, right? And so consumption to us means you know, everything.
Yeah.
And the big thing to remember is there are two things that are spiraling out of control. Social media is going like, you know, is exponential, and the industrial food system is also. And so there's with each passing day and year, the need for being conscious in your consumption is becoming even more relevant and more important. And the need for connecting, human connection on a face-to-face basis. Like we're old school, right? Like if you're over 30, then like you remember what it's like to really connect with people face-to-face, hold eye contact, have a real handshake, right? Like people that come in who are like 15, 20, 25, that's lost on them. That art is lost on them. And so that's another thing. It's not like I feel like that's my responsibility to shift or anything, but I definitely
it is, and I think it is our responsibility a little bit, Sharif. And I think that's what we're saying is that this regenerative lifestyle, you know, we need to bring it back, and that's why we're doing the show. That's why you're doing what you're doing. And it is, I mean, what would, you know, think about your employees. If they didn't have the experience that you're creating, the example that you're setting, the training that you're giving them, they're not getting that training at anywhere else, like anywhere. Okay, name any corporate whatever. No corporation is giving them that experience. I mean, you guys are growing and developing people. You know, I think it's really beautiful. Like, you know, yeah, you guys have some turn and churn a little bit because you know, it's a young people's job, you know. But when they leave you, they are so much better for it, and it shows. You know, everybody knows so and so is leaving you guys because they're growing into whatever something, because you just, you know, you're growing and developing so many people on such a massive level. And the thing that's beautiful about what you and Leslie are doing is that you're also willing to grow other juice companies. There's no competition in your mind, because and that's the thing that is like we're anti-corporatocracy, and people can't wrap their mind around it. And you're setting the example of a profitable, successful business. Uh-oh, are you okay?
Yeah, no, that was a bottle.
Okay. But I was saying, like, you know, you guys are setting an example that like a business can be profitable, can be intentional, can be conscious, can be successful, and can, be better than anything that you would ever franchise or anything that you would ever sell off to someone else. It's not repeatable what you're doing in the way that you're doing it. But the people that you're teaching and you're growing, I would imagine, are going to go out somewhere and do something very similar, which is the point of all of this. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's easy for you. I mean, you are you. And I don't even know if you really hear it because you are just being authentic. And you're taking basically yourself as a template and you've made it cool, like super cool, especially for this new generation that needs it more than anyone. I love hearing about this this consumption because it's holistic in the way that you're talking about it. It's not just about food. It's like as a whole, there's so much coming at our children right now. And so for them to have a safe place, just because you are you and you've had the experiences that you've had and you haven't thrown your experiences away and you use your passion, which is very attractive to others. People are attracted to passion. That's why your friends were not offended because they saw your passion and they realized it's so valuable. But our kids need a place like this that's cool. They can recognize some of their the cool artists in their juice they're drinking, just by the name of it and
integrity.
the atmosphere.
But the integrity, you're incorporating integrity behind all of it, whether it's food integrity or, the integrity of the ingredients. One of the questions that you were saying that you wanted us to ask was, why should anybody trust you? If they don't trust you after this conversation, I'm really not sure what they're seeking because, you're beyond what anybody would have ever thought. And that's the fun of this, that's why we're doing the show, because we want people to see all of you, from another perspective, because it's going to take ordinary people to turn around the browning of the earth. Okay, Sherif? That's what this whole show is based around, the fact that if you were sitting on the moon looking at the earth for the past 50 years, 100 years, then you've been watching it turn from this green and blue thing to this brown, dead, dying planet. Okay? And that's very real. All right? And I think that we all can know that, you know that like I do if you're seeking the food. Okay? Versus somebody who's not really seeking it the way that we are, right? You know that, like from your experience that you just shared on the land purchase problem, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're trying. Me and the farmers that I'm working with are working to be the solution, but we need you to do what you're doing. We need every spoke to be doing the piece that they're doing, and then we need 100 times that more. And so there's no competition. That's the reason you're successful, is you're not like under this weight of the competition, because you're pouring yourself out, and with that is going to coming like all the abundance. And so thank you again for that too. I mean, like these are the reasons you're a hero, why we want you on the show. Why?
Thank you.
This is the reason, whatever you thought you were doing, I don't know if you realize the ripple effect of that.
I mean, I agree with the competition part. There will never be another whoever is a founder of any business, like Howard Schultz with Starbucks. Like, there'll never be another Starbucks. There's a million cafes, but Starbucks is an extension of him. So like, I never really get concerned about another juice bar, because they're not going to do it the same way. It's not going to be a reflection of the same personality. So that part doesn't concern me. So I think really the only way to go about business is with a collaborative mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. And Raleigh is very conducive to that. It's really built on a lot of relationships. And which takes me to the next point, which you mentioned, like you say you need me and we need you. And that soil example is a perfect example. I obviously should have talked to you about that. I didn't even think to. And it made me realize, like, if we don't get our soil, come together, get the soil right, and just turn things around on a local level, then we're handcuffed to national distributors.
Yes.
And then we're contributing to the very problem that we're trying to alleviate.
And see, that is the thing about this hydroponic thing, where that isn't still going to help remediate the soil. And
Yeah.
I mean, I get that from a business perspective, it'll give you a great efficiency. But as your friend, as you know, your queen bee who's going to be saying, yo, but you really need the nutrition out of the soil because whatever
Yeah.
you put into that water, some human being has to come up with that chemistry project to feed the food, which is not
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
about, you know? And so
Yeah.
sorry if I'm putting the kibosh on something publicly, but I
No, that's
mean,
cool. I like having these conversations because to me, I don't need it all to happen tomorrow. It's the same thing like with the consumer buying a juice cleanse. As long as I know that I'm working towards making a better product day after day, cool. Like I'm going to move to that hydroponic system because I don't want to be buying from national distributors.
right.
Then I want to talk
Amazing.
about how I can salvage soil and get the soil right so
And
we can
make it
get
better.
and have farms right here. I
Hmm.
mean, we're in farmland in North Carolina. This isn't
We
where I
have I
used.
have two farms for you off the top of my head right now that can keep you in business with your list if you tell us what the list is. They can
Oh,
do it. They know how to do it and they already have the soil for it. And I mean, but
I think
these
what
are
we
the
have to make sure we're intentionally making our audience understand is that we are a community. We're based here in Raleigh, but this is something that can happen anywhere.
yes.
yeah,
And what I think is great about everything you're saying is that you came from a totally different lifestyle, a totally different industry, and you made a regenerative lifestyle choice intentionally and for yourself as a single person and joined a
Partier, as a
totally
partier.
different community and made it grow,
Yes.
made it profitable, made it fun. And you did it in your way by asking
yeah.
questions, by having, and actually, if you can elaborate how you did that, that would be wonderful.
Well, I mean, you just nailed it. It was a lot of asking questions, and I always have a lot of fun demystifying success, like not my own, but just general success. It's like the process is just you ever seen like the reason the movie Shawshank Redemption is so great is because it's just like a ton of hardship and then Andy Dufresne is like trying to break out of prison by tapping a rock on a wall for like 15 years and then he gets out.
Right.
So the feat is really admirable because like you're like, wow, he got out of Shawshank, right? But to me, what's awesome wasn't that he got out. That's the success. It's that he had the patience and to sit there and tap with a pebble on a rock, on a wall for 15 years, right?
Right.
And that's demystifying the process. Is like, nobody's down to do that. And like I revel in the monotony of like the same thing over and over and over because I feel that it's a spiritual process for me. I feel that there's silence that I can live in and learn from in that process. And I like that. And I know that nothing is gonna like I'm not gonna have a bazooka and blast my way out of a jail cell. I have to tap on it with a pebble every single day. And if everyone approaches health like that and life like that and business like that, it becomes attainable for everyone, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, you are, you're creating a life force, and you don't want to build that on a house of sand.
Yeah.
That's what's beautiful about Raleigh Raw. I mean, you didn't like even now what you're saying, about making a shift or a change or considering what I'm saying about the regenerative soil versus whatever you know that there's steps. I mean, that's how you did this, which is brilliant. I mean, I think, like you started with it wasn't really home delivery. I mean, I guess it was kind of home delivery, right? But then it was the vending machine thing. Who thinks of vending machines? Like, as a vending machine being like a good thing ever.
It wasn't a good business idea. But it wasn't good because you've got a super like non-shelf stable product in a vending machine that you have to like repair every couple days and then throw away.
But you were
from a
overcoming
marketing-
another law that you had to overcome also, right?
Exactly.
Like there was
Yeah, you can't
it's a
wholesale raw
technicality.
We couldn't wholesale raw juice, so we direct sold it by putting vending machines in wholesale locations. So that was just a way for me to get around a loophole. But it was also brilliant for marketing because it created this impression of omnipresence. You keep
Yes.
going to these yoga studios and cafes, and they're like, oh, there's that company, Raleigh Raw. Wow, they've got vending machines, and they're here and they're there. How big is this company? It's just two
Yeah.
people, and the bottles are in my bedroom. So, but that was back then, like just getting it going.
Perception
But,
is everything. I mean, and
yeah.
that is the beauty of the internet right now and social media.
What mattered to me was what was inside that bottle. As long as I knew that what was inside that bottle was the best quality and was really going to heal somebody, I didn't care that we had to handwrite the ingredients on the labels. Like, or that we had to put them in vending machines, because I knew that's the outside stuff and we'll get there when we can.
So that seems like it's a part of your story too, like your passion to do this. I remember from your bio, you're talking about, just some of the experiences that you had with family. I don't know if you would be, wanting to
Yeah, well, it's pretty
shed
positive
light.
news now. Dad is in remission. He actually so that was prostate cancer, and then he got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in his bone marrow, which really is like a pretty rapid death sentence. And it's, I think, a combination of completely changing his food habits, and also he's also a very positive person, and I don't think people realize how much your mentality and your psychology affects your health. So that's really helped him a lot as well. For others, like my grandparents, it was too late for them to reverse anything. And also, like, us brown people know how stubborn our parents can be, and our grandparents. It's just like totally reversing cultural norms that it's very difficult.
And they're also so ready to just say, whatever, I've been living so long,
Yeah.
I won't have to buy another mattress now. It's fine,
Yeah.
But yeah, but your mind is and that's what our parents say to me right now. They're like, you can just, like mind, blow the toxicity in your food, and just, if you're convinced it's going to be medicine, it's fine. And I mean, they firmly believe that. And I mean, I guess, after 70, they just are like, whatever, we just believe this is going to be fine and it doesn't matter. And so they're not going to change very much. But, your mind is the most powerful thing. And that was what we talked about in many other episodes, that if you are freaking yourself out over what you're putting in your mouth or on your plate or whatever, it doesn't matter, because you will negate the power of that food if you are basically psyching yourself out all the time, or stressing yourself, because that stress is way more powerful than anything could in the food that could heal you. So definitely you got to change your mind first.
Yeah.
And I think that's what your Trojan horse theory is doing as well.
Yeah, making
it's
it fun.
changing people's mindsets.
It's associating something that is familiar and fun to them to healthy food. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're a psychologist now, right? You have to be to make this happen. All of us have to be. If we're not creating, new habits for them, you make it more fun. It's really, really, really cool. I mean, I kind of wish I could be like that, but I just feel like I know too much, and it's really hard for me.
Well, that's your role, though. Like my role is different. My role is to meet people where they're at, and then I go to you to learn more about nutrition, right? So, like, I wouldn't want you to be more like me at the expense of me losing an asset like you. So, like, I think it's important for everyone to just kind of know what their strengths are, and then we collaborate as a team to become this machine.
Yes.
Right.
It's a place for
Well,
all
thank
of
you.
us.
You're right.
Yeah.
I like that. I'll take that. I appreciate it.
Yes.
So what's your vision for Raleigh Raw now? I mean, you guys have this beautiful thing happening. I have to put in my one request, that you just need to be bigger. Like, we want to come hang out, but there's not enough room. Like, we have to hurry up and come in, and then we have to get out. And I'm like, I want to stay.
Yeah, we spoke to our landlord about opening upstairs, taking the upstairs space so we could build a staircase. And the staircase itself was what was cost prohibitive. It's like it's like a six-figure number just to build a staircase.
Wow.
And so
Let's do a Kickstarter.
well, I think I've already tapped out my resources for that. But what we did, and we are considering now, is to buy the parking spot in front of our shop and turn it into a parklet and put some
Oh.
planters and some seats and tables and to create more outdoor seating, because 9 months out of the year in Raleigh, North Carolina
Yeah.
are like good enough temperature where at least most of those months you could sit outside. And so for a few months, for maybe 2 or 3 months, you wouldn't be able to take advantage, but the rest of the time that would work. So that's a low cost way of doing it. And
We could
then we're
parkour just up.
what's that?
I said we could parkour up to
Yeah,
the
that's
roof.
true. Yeah, that's asking a lot.
I'm
But
just
then we
teasing.
have a shop opening down the street at a food hall. I don't know if you all heard of the Morgan Street Food Hall. It's opening in May, where it's going to be about 30 restaurants, like kiosks, so express versions of these restaurants that are local to Raleigh. And we're gonna put a Raleigh Raw inside of a 20 by 8 shipping container. And so that'll be a second location on the same street on Hargett Street, just downtown in the warehouse district. And so that'll be an opportunity to get, more seating for us.
Is that different from?
Lynn's
Yeah.
concept
So
on
there's
that show?
two big food halls going in. Is that correct?
Yeah, so
Into Raleigh?
one is on the west side, one is on the east side. The west side is the warehouse district where Citrix and the Dillon are located. That's where we'll be going. The other one's on the east side.
Okay. Just so
Um,
we're clear, because
yeah. So
There's
in
a
terms
lot
of,
going on.
yeah, there's a lot of growth and a lot of things happening.
yeah,
So
yeah.
now is the mindset of everyone there to be regenerative, or are you going to be probably one of the only regenerative ones, or?
Yeah, no, it's early to say. I think honestly a lot of that food is going to be more like comfort foods. There's going to be like empanadas and then burgers, and yeah, it's going to be more of a social house to hang out at, as I understand it. Yeah, it's owned by Niall, who owns the Hibernian and the Beer Garden, and so he's done a lot of really interesting, very bold businesses. So I'm excited to see what he comes up with. But he'll be the first to tell you that that's not really his focus is to work on regenerative businesses. He's your typical quintessential Irishman. He's gonna have the world's smallest bar in the same location of that food hall. And yeah, so he's pretty interesting. In terms of our growth, that's all we have planned right now. I think that we're focused as a business on intensity over extensity, and I think that a lot can get lost when you grow too quickly and you end up scaling your inefficiencies. And so we just want to use what we have here in downtown Raleigh as a pilot to really understand customer needs, what's selling well, how to improve our farming, and do all of that first before we think about expanding into different markets. So, anything foreseeable in the next few years, it's to be right here in downtown Raleigh, not open. We get asked a lot to open a lot of, Durham Raw and Charlotte and Wrightsville Raw, and all of those sound like really awesome ideas. And I just think that that's a mirage that many businesses get seduced by. And it's easy to just see this awesome financial revenue number on a month and think that you can scroll across your Excel spreadsheet times 6 and have 6 stores, and they're all going to be 6 times that one. And that's not ever the case. And I mentioned earlier on the call about 2 of my favorite businesses going under, and that's exactly how they did it. Is that they fell for the allure of store one and wanted to see that 10x.
I mean, we see that all the time. I even see that with the farms. Like, I've been doing this long enough where most of the farms that have collapsed because they tried to do like home delivery or do some crazy CSA or try to be like, I'm working to collaborate with several firms, and work as a third party versus them, because one human being can't do it all. And when they try to farm and try to do everything that I'm doing or whatever, it's insane. And they are out of business generally, like faster than they ever could get the soil even, done. So yeah, I mean, it's no different. You have to, I mean, you're so smart to do that. And I mean, thanks for thinking about all of that. Although, it would be cool.
Yeah, and it
to
is
have just a
seductive
little bit more
for me too. I would love to have a lot, but I feel like we have to do it the long game. It's just, again, it's that same philosophy of like just one rock at a time, and just it's one day at a time for us. And anytime we come up with something new, like Leslie, you said that I'm the kite and Leslie's the rock. Like the rule is like if I introduce something new, I have to take something away, right? So like
Ah.
if I'm gonna roll out, like we're gonna start doing espresso, then maybe I have to get rid of grab and go or something,
Uh-huh.
so the business doesn't continue to get like just completely complicated, right? And
Yeah,
that
you got to
just
keep it
ensures
simple.
simplicity.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that makes you have your priorities in order,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know? So that's wonderful. It's really, really good philosophy.
yeah. Thanks.
I think we're coming up
Well,
on the hour.
I wanted to make sure I thanked you because I use Raleigh Raw, the Ninth Wonder
The
juice,
ninth
like
wonder.
all the time. And
Thank you.
me, my daughter, we love it. It's our daily
Thank you.
supplement, as Niti was
You have to
saying.
thank Nifty for that, not me. I told her I'm not down to do it. I
Oh,
told her
man.
she
He made it
approached me.
good though.
She approached me and she said I need a juice that has no fruit. And I said, Nifty, like this is where me and her always disagree. I'm like, listen, I understand customer needs and like they're not ready for a bitter juice. And she said, it's not bitter, it's
It's
zesty.
not.
There's a
That's
difference.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you
And so I was
created
like,
something that now I actually I make my juices, and then when I don't feel like doing it, then I get the Ninth Wonder. And Leslie was saying you put it together, and I love the taste of Ninth Wonder.
Yeah.
So I try now whenever I make my juice to make it like you make it. It hasn't happened yet. Mine is good, but it's not quite
I
Ninth
tell
Wonder.
you, it's
Thanks.
brilliant
Thank
because I come from, and regenerative lifestyle I'm living right now is new. It's
Yeah.
relatively new, probably 2 years or about that. And I have a 14-year-old who's also new at this, and we both drink it daily, sometimes
Nice.
2 times a day.
Wow,
And
that's great.
you did a wonderful job with it, and I thank
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I also thank you because you took a passion of yours, even if it was a mixologist for alcohol, and you brought it out in a healthy way for yourself, for your family, and for the community. And I
Thank
thank
you.
you for that. And I hope
Thank
you
you all.
continued success because we need you.
I
Yes.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's
I'm
nice to
humbled.
have that food security, and to hear you speak the way that you are about what you're doing to ensure the stability of that, because that's the other part of this regenerative lifestyle. It's, people feel so insecure about,
Yeah.
having being able to source food well and,
Yeah.
and on a consistent basis. So thank you for that too.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Thank
thank
you,
you for
guys.
your time. I know today it's like a really hard day for you, and you made time
I'm so
for the
happy to
show
be
anyway. And
Yeah, no, and thank you all for what you're doing. Like you are the queen bee, so I do love learning from you, and I keep you in mind when I'm making juice because I know that I have to that I'm like, man, what is Niti gonna say about this? She's like the bar, And so, I gotta because if Niti's cool, then like none of you trolls can say ish on Instagram,
That's
right?
right.
Like
That's
I already
right.
ran it by her. Like if you're gonna challenge the integrity of this product, like Nikki says, it's cool. So that's like my
and we want it to taste good too. That's the other
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
People who know me, who are participating in our meat riot, they know that not
Yeah.
only does it have to be highest quality, but it better taste good. Because if
That's
it's
right.
not good, we're not down.
And
Yeah,
I'm here to
exactly.
attest to
Yeah.
both health and flavor.
Yes.
And that is an awesome thing that
Thank
you have actually been successful in.
Yeah, mixologists. We trust the mixologists. I'm
That's
still
right.
trying to get that Ninth Wonder taste.
Well, come down on April 21st. We're having our block party, which is really a one-day celebration of what we do all the time, and it's really geared towards children and like physical activity, health, and wellness. So it's just like everything we talked about today. It'll be the physical manifestation of the whole philosophy.
What's the
And
times
so
on that?
it's going to be at 9 a.m. starting with yoga. We close the whole street down. We have a police officer. We've got like outdoor bathrooms and DJs and live music. Like this is all a Raleigh Raw event. And that's at 9 a.m. in front of our store until 7 p.m. all day long.
That is so cool.
We are gonna have to put it on the calendar.
Absolutely. Thank
April
you so
21.
much.
Yeah, thank you all for having me.
Yes,
Thank you,
Sheree.
Sharif. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, folks, stay tuned for, and see what we're going to be doing next week. I actually don't remember who's on the agenda for next week.
It's
Oh,
gonna be
no.
great.
Actually, we're going to be speaking with Anita, the owner of Fresh Levant. So make sure you stay tuned in. Hey friends, we hope that this production has served you in some way today. If you would like to hear more shows like this, please help us grow our army of Minas by visiting our website and making a donation today. We are a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, and I ask that you please like and share this video, follow us on Facebook, become involved with us on Instagram and Twitter, and all of our links can be found in the show notes. Thank you.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.